All right, everyone. So it's our first week in Tampa, and I figured I'd kind of give you guys an update on the car, kind of where we are with everything in terms of all of the external and performance mods that we've done. So let's get to it. So the first thing, and this is actually the first thing I probably put on the car, because my biggest pet peeves with Mustangs is they never come with enough chin. And it's a super easy fix, it's super cheap, it doesn't take long to install. So this is the MP Concepts front splitter. I got it from like American Muscle. At the time it was like 130 bucks, it's pretty cheap. They kind of raised the price now, I think it's around 200, but it's still a well worth it upgrade. I think it's better than the RTR spec front splitters or whatever they call them. One, because it's a lot cheaper. The RTR stuff's pretty expensive. And I like the two-stage design. It has a level structure to it. And it has pretty cool winglets that are kind of by the front tires that I just think really completes the look of the front of the Mustang. Generally, I think that's probably the best front splitter, at least that I've seen so far when it comes to these cars. Now, the next thing that we have in terms of visual mods are these side skirt extensions. These are pretty cheap parts. I picked them up from like Icon Motorsports. It's kind of like an eBay brand, not a particularly high top shelf kind of quality sort of stuff, but they look really good. They went on pretty easily, and I think it gives the car a much better ground effect than it does stock. Again, Mustangs just sit kind of high. That's definitely true in the front, and I think it's relatively true on the side. So putting a side skirt extension just lowers it a little bit in terms of visual looks without actually dropping the car any on the suspension. And generally, I just think it makes the car look a lot better. I get a lot of compliments on the ground presence, and I think most of it comes from these side skirt extensions. Like I said, they're really cheap. I think they're probably like 120 bucks. Not a super expensive part. They just bolt on by friction screws, super easy to put on, and kind of an easy day. So the next thing that we should talk about is the actual fitment and lowering of the car. So we're on the Acela-Tech lowering springs. These drop about 1.5 inches in the front and 1 inch in the rear. And I think these springs are probably some of the best springs in terms of getting the perfect fitment on your stock performance pack wheels. So I think the fitment in the rear is exceptional. The front, I think, could be a little bit better, but overall, Mustangs need to be lowered, okay? From the factory, they all just look like they sit on stilts, and it just doesn't look very good. So these are the Acela-Tech springs from CJ Pony Parts, and then to help with the fitment a little bit, I also have 1 inch Acela-Tech spacers, also from CJ Pony Parts. So the spacers just sit between the hub and the wheel, and they push the wheels out, and it's 1 inch on all 4 corners. Okay, so let's talk about what we've done to the rear in terms of visual looks. So if you guys are not new to my channel, you guys know how much I hate the colored plastic that Ford uses on these cars. They use this like diluted dark gray. It's almost like black but faded, like sun faded. And they put this everywhere on the car. So it's on the exterior, it's on the interior, and this is probably my biggest pet peeve with the car. So the rear diffuser, I think on the S650 Mustangs, is probably one of the worst features. In terms of like design, I think it's okay, but it's the color. The color is terrible. So I have this swapped out for an all gloss black, and I think it's also Icon Motorsports. Again, it's just an eBay brand. It probably costs like 250 bucks. It's a super cheap part. Ordered it, showed up in like 2 days, threw it on, it fit perfect, it looks really good. But the best part about it, not only is it a little bit redesigned in terms of from the stock S650 Mustang, but it's the color. It's a jet gloss black, and I think it just makes the rear look so much better. And it kind of gives it a little bit more angular kind of vibes to it with the vortices in the rear. I know it's a little bit rice, but I think it's pretty well done on this rear lower valence. Like, I think it looks pretty good. Then the next thing that we have are the taillights. Pretty easy swap, pretty common on S550 and S650 Mustangs. I'm not a big fan of red. I know some people go with the white taillights, some people go with the darker smoked out taillights. I think either one you choose, it's gonna make the car look a little bit better. I like to get rid of red on all parts of an exterior of a car, except, of course, if you guys have seen my front Coyote badge in the grill, that's red. But besides that, taillights, side markers, I like to remove the red. Generally, I just think that makes the exterior of the car look really good. And especially on like blue cars, I think the red and the blue just kind of clash with the rear if the taillights are red. So we swapped them out with the form lighting, white taillights. They're $500. Kind of expensive for, you know, just taillights, but they work perfect. I've never had any issues with them. They function extremely well. The install was super easy relative to the S650 Mustang. Now, keep in mind with these cars, which is untrue of the S550s, is you actually have to pull the rear bumper off. So that's a bit annoying. But besides that, install is actually relatively easy. There's lots of YouTube videos that show you how to do it. So look up one of those, throw your taillights in, and you'll have a better looking rear. The last thing that we've done is this wicker bill. So this is a liquid vinyl wicker bill, and I kind of wanted to swap out the spoiler that came with the performance pack on these Mustangs. I think it's decent. I just wish it had a little bit more elevation to it, like it was a little bit taller. But I don't know, I couldn't find one that I really liked. I know a lot of people go with the Dark Horse one, which I think looks really good, but I don't know, I just wasn't super feeling the Dark Horse spoiler, so I was like, I'll just throw on a wicker bill. And it looks really good. It went on super easy. You do have to use a rivet gun. You do have to drill into the stock performance pack spoiler, which was a little scary. And if you do mess up, you can just take the spoiler off and swap it with a new one. But relatively easy install. I do like it. I know some people don't like the bolts that are showing on the rear. They're downward facing, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. I actually don't mind it, but as far as like adding elevation to the wing, I think it does a relatively good job with that, and then also adds length. So there's a little bit, well, a decent bit more overhang over the rear with a wicker bill. So I like that. I think it looks pretty cool. And then I guess the last thing we probably should talk about with the rear are the exhaust tips. So this is an MBRP Armor Light Race Edition catback exhaust, okay? And that's always such a mouthful to say. But this is the race profile from MBRP products, and it has the quad blacked out tips. Generally, I don't like chrome on cars. If I'm picking an exhaust, I'm usually gonna go with black tips. I think generally it just looks a little bit better. So that's what we went with here, just trying to keep with the all black, all blue color theme. And it's a really good sounding exhaust. It's relatively affordable. They run around $1,000, which is a lot better than the $2,000 or $3,000 you can spend with Corsa or Borla. Albeit those are really nice exhaust systems, don't get me wrong, but they're really expensive, and I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze. So, yep, that's what we have in the rear. Now, again, if you guys are not new to my channel, you guys probably have a good idea of what we have going on under the hood. I talk about it all the time, and here we are talking about it again. So, what we have is a Gen 4 Coyote. Obviously, with these S650 Mustangs, we have a Stage 2 Whipple. We're running a 3.625 pulley. We're on stainless power catted headers. We are Rob Shoemaker tuned, and we're running an E30 blend, which you actually just put it back on E30. Generally, I don't really like to run 93. I did it for the road trip just because E85 stations on road trips can be kind of difficult. But we're back on E30, and generally, if I can run ethanol, I will do it. But E30 is kind of the max for the fuel system. So we're making around 750, 800 wheel horsepower. Now, I've never had the car dynoed, so that's about where we're at. And now, I've never really had any reliability issues so far with the car. We're at almost 15,000 miles, but obviously the biggest thing when it comes to this kind of power is traction. And as far as visual mods, I think I'm about done with the car, but probably gonna do something with the wheels here. I've debated getting a drag pack, some sort of weld or maybe a beadlock, something like that. But I do daily drive this car. Now, we're in Florida, so I don't need a whole lot of crazy kind of different driving conditions, kind of capability in terms of a tire. We just need to be able to do rain okay. And I work from home, so I don't have to drive in the rain if I don't need to. But generally, in terms of visual mods, I'm pretty much done with the car. So besides wheels, really, I just want to get a wider wheel in the rear. So not quite sure what that is yet, but as far as that goes, that's going to be kind of the end game in terms of visual mods for this car. Well, I say that, but maybe not in a few years. I have a few ideas in my mind. But in terms of performance stuff, I don't think I'm really going to push this car all that much harder. I don't want to chase like the 4-digit kind of numbers. I think it'd be really fun, but I don't really want to quite do that with a Coyote. That's definitely past the bleeding edge of the kind of power that they can take stock, at least the bottom end. But what I do want to do is catch cans, because I've been doing some research, and if you're NA on a Coyote, it's generally not a big deal. You're probably not, getting a whole lot of oil blow by and through your intake manifold. But if you're on a boosted setup, you're definitely more prone to do that just with a higher crankcase pressure. And the problem is that oil can actually act as an octane suppressant. So whether you're running 93 or whatever it is, even if you're running E85, there's still an octane rating. But oil can lower that octane rating. And best case scenario, you're pulling timing and making less power. Worst case scenario, you're running into knock or you're gonna have pre-detonation, and that's definitely no bueno. So catch cans are definitely a must. I'm gonna order those actually probably today once I get home. And then two, I really wanna be able to run fully 85. 85 is generally considered a little bit easier on parts. Even though it makes a bit more power, it's generally considered the safer fuel than running 93 pump gas. So I wanna do ID 1300X injectors, a twin Walbro pump setup in the rear, either 450s or 540s. And then obviously we want to do a full return style fuel system. But really that's just so I can do a full E85 tune, and not even really so much to make more power. We will with that, okay? And that's always a benefit. But I just want to be able to run fully 85. All right guys, so that's gonna cover it for this video. Just a relatively quick rundown with all the performance mods and the visual mods that we've done to this car. It's kind of my first video, my favorite style in Tampa. So I will catch you guys in the next one, so take care.